This is the Skoda Karoq, and it's a bit like the song Middle Child from J. Cole, because it's the middle one in a lineup of 3 cars. So this is the business line Skoda Karoq, which gets a lot of nice options which are standard. In this case we have LED headlights with headlight washers. Only thing which is a bit disappointing is that this one gets halogen fog lights. They could have just upgraded it also on this one, not only on the sport model. In this case we also have the Skoda grille, which almost all of the Skodas have nowadays. And if we have a look at it from the front, it looks pretty nice. Some parts aren't painted, which are painted on the sportier model, but they do differentiate the models, which I like. So the Skoda Karoq gets 16-inch alloy wheels as standard. In this case they come on Goodyear winter tires, and I do think these are really small. They do have a kind of star pattern. It doesn't look bad, but it's really small and not as wide, so the stance of this car is a bit like So from the side you can really see that it's a mid-sized SUV. It also looks the part in this case. We do have roof racks. I would definitely advise to get your windows tinted because you have a lot of big windows and it would just look like some kind of aquarium. In this case, we do have electrically folding mirrors, which is a standard option on this car, also as the keyless go and keyless start, which I'm a really big fan of. So inside the gas door, Skoda has given you one nice present. You do have a window scratcher for in the winter, so you don't lose it and you always have it on you. This facelifted model of the Skoda Karoq does get different tail lights. In my opinion, they look really nice. This model does have the dynamic blinkers, and one more option which you get standard on this car is the electrically operated tailgate, which does work most of the time, and you can see the nice dynamic tail lights. It opens up electrically. You can choose to click the button to close it, and if your hands are full you can also just put your foot under it again, and then it goes down and it makes noises like it's some kind of truck. Furthermore, we have a backup camera, which is very nice because it's a pretty big car. So the car doesn't get gas struts with it, which is a bit cheap, but oh well. We have some different engine choices which you can choose from. This specific car has the 1.5 liter petrol engine, which puts out 150 horsepower and has a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, which isn't the greatest in this car. It definitely needs some tweaking because it's not to my liking. You can also get it as a 1.5 liter with a manual gearbox and also 1 liter, which I would definitely not choose for this car. So the trunk is pretty big. You can fit a lot of suitcases in it if you were to go on vacation, and probably about 2 or 3 grown adults. So, getting inside the back of the Skoda Karoq, you do have a lot of space, which is really nice, and it's a really good change of pace of all the small cars we reviewed. So in this case, we do have a lot of knee room, loads of headroom. The tinted windows in the back look great, also gives more privacy. In this case, we do have electrically operated windows in the back, a place to charge your phone. We have air conditioning fans in the back. You can get optional heated seats in the back and dual zone climate control, but in the front and in the back, so triple zone climate control. Also, we have an armrest, which is really nice, but why are the cup holders here? Let me give you an example. You see this? Who thought of this shit? If I can get the picture on screen, this guy, if this is the guy who designed this, why? Why would you think of this? Furthermore, it's really nice, it's really comfortable. The seats are a bit sturdy, so maybe on longer road trips it can get a bit annoying, so maybe you have to stretch a little bit more than in other cars, but it's really nice. Headrests are adjustable, so I think this is a really nice car to have road trips in and sit in the back of. Alright, so getting in the front of the Skoda Karoq, there's a lot of good things to talk about, but also a lot of bad things to talk about. I'll start with some irritating things. You have a nice place to hold your drinks, but it's fully plastic. So if you're driving, the only thing you hear is, and that's really frustrating when you're on long drives. So they just could have put a little bit of anti-slip material in the cup holder. Talking about cup holders, underneath this armrest we have a cup holder. So you can put your cup in here and then not open your armrest. Who thinks of this shit? Alright, so getting over to the good things. I like the steering wheel. It's all covered in leather. The buttons work nice. You do have pedal shifters for some reason on the automatic models. It is nice to use from time to time, but it's really a gimmick of this car. The car comes standard with heated steering wheel. This one has the optional heated seats. It comes with climate control. I do like that you have a button here to turn off the automatic start-stop on this car, because that's also pretty frustrating. We also have some nice door panels in this case. You don't have any option to choose from, you just get in this one. But contrary to that, in the center console, you do have a lot of piano black plastic, which looks really nice, but it scratches way too fast. And if you have a look at here, we've left a bit of plastic here, but you can see how scratched up this is. And I think the person just left it on so it doesn't scratch. But the part from the climate control, the part of the center control, it's all piano black and you can't change it. So it's really nice in the start, but it'll really scratch up pretty fast. In the sport model, you do get the more sporty seats which really hug you while you're driving. These ones are also pretty nice. A bit on the firm side, if I may say so myself. For longer drives, it could be a bit uncomfortable. Maybe you have to get out, stretch your legs a little bit. So the car has keyless go, but it also has keyless start. So as you can see, the engine button is here, which is a bit unusual because I'm used to the start-stop button being here, but it's on the stalk of the steering wheel. So it's something you have to get used to. Furthermore, this one has the big digital dashboard because the car, in at least the business model, comes as standard with the digital dashboard, but that's the same one as in the Volkswagen Polo, for example. This one is the bigger one. You have more options. You do have half digital, half analog dials for your fuel and also for the engine coolant or oil, if I'm not mistaken. Furthermore, there are a lot of options to choose and pick from this digital dashboard, so it looks really nice. The car also has wireless Apple CarPlay, which I'm a really big fan of. If we have a look underneath here, this is the DSG gearbox and also the gear shifter. We have the option to have the handbrake automatically up, the handbrake itself, traction control. You can put it in sport, you can put it in manual, and in this case you have a wireless charger in the car, which is really bad. I would really discourage you to use this. I would just use the USB-C port down here. But one thing which is bad, so if you have an iPhone Pro Max or maybe even one of the bigger Samsungs and you put it inside here just because you want to keep your phone there, I usually close this because it just looks nicer. But let's say you park up your car, you open this, you want to take your phone out, it isn't really smooth. Getting it in or out is just really frustrating. Why is this thing so big? They make this small thing for the Volkswagens. Why is this thing huge? Pause. If we have a look at the dashboard, we have an extra compartment to store stuff in, maybe some napkins or other things, maybe your parking ticket if you would like. We also have a glove box, which is pretty small. You can keep some stuff in there. So it's a really roomy car. You have a lot of space to put things away. I do really think this center console also looks really nice. We have the physical buttons with the sync. You can also put the sync off. You can also put the sync on and off. Auto AC. You can see your heated seats going on and off. So it's really nice to have physical buttons to use and touch in this car. So two things I forgot to mention in this car is that we have a place which you can put your sunglasses in, which is really nice. And if we have a look in the mirrors, in the window visors, they're pretty big, balls. And you also have these white lights, which are really handy if you're trying to look at yourself. Furthermore, as we said, we have a nice rear view camera, which works really good. And the quality is alright. It's not the best in any cars I've seen, but it's okay. It's good to go. Sensors in the front and in the back. As we mentioned, we have a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. And the car is pretty comfortable. It's not very slow. It has a 1.5 liter 150 horsepower engine, which does 0 to 60 in about 9 or so seconds. It isn't slow, but it also isn't very fast. It is a big car, so if you're driving in town and you're going about roundabouts, you're going over speed bumps and all those kind of things, then it is a bit slow. And it's also a bit, it's a bit of a sluggish car in that case, but if you're using it on these kind of roads, longer roads, and you just have your cruise control on, it's really comfortable. The car's really quiet, also on the higher speeds. You sit pretty nice. As I said, the seats are a bit firm, so on longer drives, 2, 3 or maybe even more hours, if you're going without stop, then it can start to be a little bit irritating. But other than that, it's really nice. Seating position is nice. You can adjust your seat, the steering wheel, all your mirrors just like you like. The mirrors are also really big on this car, so you have a lot of oversight in this case. Just the one thing which I really don't like about this car, which I also didn't really like in the Skoda Karoq, and if you haven't seen that video, go check out the link in the description or the pop-up somewhere on the screen. Gearbox in combination with the engine. Okay, so sometimes when you're just driving the car and you do want it to be a little bit more snappy than it isn't, if you're in a bit of a hurry and you just want the car to shift a little bit quicker, you know how it goes, then the car doesn't really do what you want. Sometimes when you want to overtake someone, you punch the throttle, it just doesn't want to kick down. I think one of the things which is helping with that, helping with irritating you, is also the fact that this car has cylinder deactivation. So it is a 4-cylinder engine, and when you're driving on highway speeds or just cruising, it shuts down 2 of the cylinders, so it's just working on 2. And you do notice it a lot in just the normal comfort mode. When you kick down, it takes ages for the car to kick down. Sometimes you give a little bit of throttle, it kicks down 3 gears, and sometimes you give a lot of throttle and it just doesn't want to kick down. So that's pretty frustrating. But again, it's really comfortable when you're driving, really comfortable. But just as I said, it's not that snappy when you want it to be snappy. If you put it in sport mode, which Skoda calls sport mode, you see a little S on the dashboard, and it starts shifting at around 3000 RPMs at its lowest point. If you're just driving in normal comfort mode, it will just shift up or down as quick as it can, just so the car has the least emissions, I think. And also that can be a bit irritating. So sometimes when you're just rolling along, the car won't put itself in first gear. It'll slip the clutch and keep in second. So sometimes you want to move while you're rolling, and then you almost have to kick down pedal to the metal just for the car to think, hey, we need to go, and it responds. And then just the whole car shifts up, and it's not really a comfortable experience in my opinion. So gearbox, really clunky. Engine is okay, but this car really needs more horsepower, and not so you can go around racing in this car, but it really needs it because it's a big car, but it has a lot of weight to move, this car, and 150 horsepower is okay. But if I'm just being realistic, I know the emissions, the whole emissions story and everything about that, but I think a 2-liter in this car will be even better with 180 horsepower to 200 horsepower. And even the best option would be, just because everything is Volkswagen in this car, just put in the Volkswagen 1.4 liter hybrid engine with around 250 horsepower, which the GTEs have, the Volkswagen Tiguan's, and I think Touaregs also, but a lot of Volkswagens also have those 1.4 liter engines. Audi also has them. Just put it in this car also. It's a hybrid, plug-in hybrid. You can use some electric miles. It'll be even more quiet. It is really quiet now, so that's really nice. But there is just so much benefit to doing that, and I really think they missed an opportunity on that one. Something which also frustrates me a little bit is the engine noise. When driving like this is okay, but when I just kick down, I don't know if you can hear it, but the car makes a lot of noise. So it's not the good kind of noise. It's just screaming on the top of his lungs, and it's not like it's a V8 or a V10, which sounds really nice. So the car is really quiet, especially when you're driving slowly or in town, or you just start the car. But the moment you need to punch the throttle, it's just and it just makes a lot of noise. It's really not nice. But furthermore, just as I said, for comfortable driving, for long road trips, it's nice. If you do have a lot of town miles, it's not really nice.
Go.
Well, if we're talking about 0 to 60 times, I would, this is about 9 seconds. I prefer it to be around 3.5, so it's a little bit off in this case. But for a daily driver, it's doable. Definitely.
3.5 seconds would be nice.
Yeah, 3.5 seconds would be nice in a car which costs around 40,000 euros to cruise around in your family with. So if you could just, and you do have a Skoda app which you need to pay for after the first year, because everyone wants to get that subscription money. But if you have a look in the app, you can see all your drives and how economical the car was, how long you've driven, how many kilometers. And if you just look back at that graph, you see that the car is almost always, it's not really good on miles. Especially if you're doing a lot of town driving, those days where you do drive a lot on the highway and you make a lot of miles, just a lot of cruise control miles, that's really good on mileage, but on average it really isn't. And if you like these kind of reviews, please subscribe and leave a like on the channel for more. So the final verdict on this car, in my opinion, is very positive. For the money that you're spending, you're getting a lot of car and a lot of standard options. If you want one that looks nicer, you can go for the sportier model. But if you're in the market for a mid-sized SUV which can hold your whole family and isn't very expensive, this is definitely a nice car. That's all, and I'll see you next time.